What about, you've referenced them a million times, so let's do it. Obviously, right, first of all, I will say, it's a little bit tricky that they call Movistar now, not Mad Lions, but okay, as long as we remember that, we're all good.
I heard someone call them MKoi once, and now I can't unhear it.
That's pretty good, actually, okay. Great Scott! Okay, there you go, that's a free one for you. Okay, right, whatever. Because that's the same, bro.
That'll come to the broadcast, don't you worry.
Here's another example of where people do just go way too far on, like, the drama outside the server. Right, yeah, I absolutely did think that winter Mad Lions last year was gassed as fuck, and part of it's like, look, I'll tell you right now, boys, in the time machine, if I could pop out the time machine and tell Striker, whoa, let Adam cook, I don't think you'd even be in that final. I think that would have been BDS versus G2 that time around. But you know what? You made that one split when it was Fugazi. But actually, I always say this, by the end of the year, the only player I thought could not play in this team was the mid laner Frascovi. It was obvious to me. And so I actually think the rest of them throughout different times in the year all showed real potential and real form, and Yoyo already I knew was good. So I actually think this is fabulous GMing. I remember seeing this lineup and thinking, bro, of all the teams as well, this is even almost the perfect one to send Jojo to, because it's actually like a fully formed team that has synergies and the coaches on the same page. If you join this team, by the way, remember the lesson we're supposed to learn from Cloud9 Jojo is he needs to have a big time jungler like Inspired to hold his hand. Spoiler, you have to play Elyoya's way. It is Elyoya's way or the fucking highway. Just ask Niski. So I think this is like an awesome team. And I'm with you, by the way. I've always said this. One thing you absolutely can hype Jojo around is he is your new double lifter if you're an NA fan. He has real hands that are fucking exciting to watch, and he does actually seem to have this confidence that isn't fake. He really believes he can be a world-class player, and I'll tell you what, he's going to have a way better chance in the modern day doing it in LEC than fucking LTA, which is the fucking graveyard right now. So I'm hyped on this team, mate. I could also see this, put it this way, I had them as my third team after G2 and Fnatic. If G2 fucks around, this team could be in the final. They could be contesting the title potentially.
Yeah, especially when, Fearless will be really good for Mirwin too.
Absolutely,
great stuff. Once you get into Fearless, this guy will have some different angles. In China, it's always been the case that, their belief has been that one-tricks do better in Fearless because you don't always get a chance to play your one-trick in, like, good metas and good situations in standard drafting, but in Fearless, there's just, like, that always, like, thread the needle where you get into that last draft and you think, oh, yeah, actually, I can play this one-trick, and that's like, the end of your series is completely blown out. Stuff like that, so I'm excited for that. This team went to Worlds with 4 ERL rookies last year. Now, obviously, one of them's been replaced, but that was actually insane. And now they've replaced their weakest part in Frescovi. And don't get me wrong, I feel bad for him because he was his first year in LEC, and he still went to Worlds. No, he was the worst player on his team, but he still made it to Worlds with the team after coming from ERLs. Yeah. But yeah, Jojo coming in, definitely leveling up. I think that Super and Alvaro have kicked things off to a good start in this year, and I think Mirwin's individual laning's been good, and his team fighting's been good too. So yeah, I think that this team, they got caught up a little bit in buying into the skirmishes, the Karmine Core, and we talked about that from the Karmine Core perspective of them just drawing them out of the laning phase into the river and into the jungle instead of really just playing through good laning phase, and that did not help them. So I think there's maybe some higher level decision making which needs some work at some point. But yeah, this team has really good stock value in terms of just individual player strength. That's definitely good for them. I think that they'll have, similar momentum and hype behind them to a Karmine Core. They have ridiculous amount of Spanish legacy behind them.
For sure.
They are now a combination of 3 Spanish orgs, Mad Lions, Movistar Riders, and Koi. And, they've been around for forever. So, yeah, that's going to be pretty insane. And yeah, I think that having that year of LEC under their belt already, and having, they got to a finals in winter, and they did go to Worlds and stuff. Yeah, this team is probably going to be on the up, and I think that hopefully Fearless will unlock a lot more for them. So this to me is again another kind of contender team, depending on how the meta goes and how they adapt to Fearless when it comes to the playoffs, stuff like that. If they don't, they should be making it to playoffs, and they should be a threat.
And even if it is true, there are certain players on some teams, Noah was one, obviously Nukon, BDS. There are certain players I have like a contentious relationship with because they can't handle me flaming them, basically. Apparently, everyone always tells me that you should 41. What I don't get is why is every fucking person who's a teenager or 21 obsessed with what a 41-year-old British guy thinks about the fucking game? I'll never get it. Well, we all know why it's those 190,000 followers, isn't it? But I don't get it myself, mate. You're making me relevant, you idiots. I'm just supposed to be some boomer talking about the game from fucking Counter-Strike, but keep making me the like bad bad guy that you're going to battle against like Vince McMahon in the WWE. Because here's the difference. What people will never realise is if you ever actually listen to the shows where I do the analysis, not the fucking hot takes, I always give people their due. So even though, look, Noah, he can fuck off. He absolutely did not show to me he is like Fnatic level, world-class international player. He showed me he had some issues and he has to reclaim his LGX. Super, on the other hand, I will give all the praise in the world to. I thought this guy was a clown when he said that stupid shit after fucking winter, that like, you know, like we're like the best bot lane in the world or whatever, or like we're as good as Rue. I remember thinking like, I remember thinking like, oh, shut the fuck up. But you know what? Even though hands-wise, he's never going to be Ruler or fucking Viper, guys. I tell you what, by the end of the year, he was the best player on that team. He played well at Worlds. He's actually a legit player for LEC level. Like, this guy, we're not a region that has like the dopest ADCs. He's a pretty good ADC for LEC, actually. I'll give him credit.
Yeah, and I think that because the laning phase is going well with him and Alvaro, it means that he can then unlock Alvaro, who I think is a very creative support. I think that they've also gone through a lot of development as a style as a team too, because one of the biggest, their big dip in form was after. So in winter they ganked bot lane a lot, worked out really well for them. And then they had that huge dip where they were trying to change styles and not focus on bot lane as much and go elsewhere. And Alvaro just didn't know what to do without that. They
never had the lane lead, did they? Like they used to just gank bot lane all the time to open them up. Yep. Like you're right. Once Alvaro couldn't do the roam, he went from looking, by the way, like the fucking revelation of the LEC. I thought he was insane in that winter, but the problem was all of a sudden he was just like an okay player when he couldn't get out the lane.
Yeah, so that took a lot of adjusting to. However, when they got to Worlds, Alvaro was sick at Worlds. I thought this guy was incredible at Worlds. He had some fantastic plays. He had that one headbutt flash play too in that really crucial game. Was that against... Did he do that to Maple? I think he did that to Maple in that really crucial match against PSG. I think it was. I'm trying to remember. He had like one huge like Alistair kind of like flash knockup, which was really, really clutch. And he was doing a lot of that across the entire tournament. And yeah, you know, obviously they didn't have the best Worlds result, but I think he actually did himself a lot of justice there. So if they come in on that kind of form again, have a good laning phase, and they have learned the lessons of actually we can start to unlock Alvaro without having just permanent jungle presence down here, that is absolutely huge. I think especially with a lot of teams kind of working around new jungle supports, with you having like your solidified one already in your Alvaro, maybe you can get a bit of a head start on that and kind of build off of that, because often teams which start a little bit slower, they're kind of playing catch up for a lot of the rest of the year. That tends to be the case. Not always the case, but it's definitely a factor which comes into it. So yeah, I'm looking forward to how this team comes apart. Like I said, there are some overhead decision-y things which I think that they need to be aware of. Don't get drawn into stupid fights which don't fit your comp. However, but again, much like we're saying for G2, can't draw all the conclusions off of best of ones. There's another thing there too. Like that game was still very scrappy and very fun. They showed a lot of mechanics in that one. Contender team, absolutely for sure.
Plus, even though now I am reviled in the Spanish community, I actually even had a rare banger that even they liked Chimera. Because you know what? Every now and then, even though people obviously for nationalistic reasons get really upset when other people, by the way, I do too. If you tell me something shit about London, I'm going to go, who the fuck are you? But I tell you what, if I'm in the UK and I'm talking to you, Chimera, I'm going to tell you London's trash. Why the fuck would I go there? It's a nightmare. Yeah. But I get it's just human nature. It's just a tribalistic aspect. But here's the problem.
London food thing around MSI.
I know.
I'm still not.
Every year that happens, it tilts the fuck out of me, bro. And then and
Google Maps list.
And then you have idiots going like, I finally Nando's and fucking baked beans on top. It's like, get out my fucking face. So anyway, where this is going was, I actually did have one banger, which even the Spanish fans, like, they could laugh at themselves on this on Nightmare, which is I just said when that rumour came out, like Jojo might join, I put that is genius. If you've just been fired for being late all the time, join a Spanish team. Because if you don't know, by the way, in Spain and Italy, when they have that siesta, it really is true. They just live on a different time. Like, the guy brings you your breakfast when he's finished making it, you know, he doesn't rush it out there. No one rushes over and asks what coffee you want. No one gives you it to go. That kind of is their culture. So actually, what's funny is, even though I was joking, it is sort of also true. I could actually see them being fairly easy going with Jojo and not being like too harsh on him and sort of work him into the squad. Yeah.
Yeah, and if he integrates in well, like this team's got a high upper ceiling. It was always going to be a question. So I was obviously there is that question of well, who's going to bend to who, Yoya to Jojo or Jojo to Yoya, or if they have some incompatibilities like that. But at least with Jojo, it feels like he's just trying to smash lane and just move into the jungle anyway. So at least that's kind of working out for now. So I'm interested to see what happens if this team has a losing streak. That will be something. I think most teams can make it easy going until stuff starts to get hard. Obviously, that happened last year.
Sure.
Where they lost the finals and then suddenly big dip. There were some rumors around about internal kind of tension from that. I mean, it makes sense. Any losing team is going to have some tension because
but they do that thing where we use the euphemisms, don't they? Always go, they're very passionate. That means they argue all the time if things are going badly, guys, and they don't keep it in.
And it's I mean, and that's not a
no, it can work.
I mean,
yeah, of course.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, like I want people to air their grievances as long as it's in a constructive way that'll eventually lead to a better scenario. But yeah, believe it or not, players care about winning and losing because they're competitive players and it's their job to win. So yeah, I mean, I've got a tentative eye on what happens when they start losing because I mean, I just suppose is there another team I feel like that in the top ones? No, I think maybe this one because you've got some very big personalities. If they start getting a losing streak, I want to see if they can keep it together. If they make it over a hump like that, I'm sure they'll be much stronger for it. But that's the big question I've got for them. If they really bomb out of this split or something in playoffs and they get knocked out or something, let's see how they recover from that.
Also, for people worried that, like, obviously the rep has been justifiably earned that NA teams don't do that style of, like, frank discussion in VOD review and stuff. I'll say this, the typical way, because you never get to see that footage except for Breaking Point, the typical way that tended to work out actually was that it wasn't what you're all thinking, guys, that it's all just the big superstars or divas. If anything, it's the superstars that got in trouble if they would argue and want to hold standards in the VOD review. It would actually be, like, the weaker players who didn't want to be, like, bullied or he's being mean about it, etc. I think Jojo's the kind of person who I think he will like this. I think he will level him up to be in this super competitive environment where it is go, go, go. It's not just like, we play some solo queue and we're automatically the best. Like, he has to actually perform. I think that'll be good for him. I actually think this could be the next spur for his development. See more cool, funny, interesting clips based on topics from my content? Well, subscribe to this channel then, or, be a pleb and don't.